I thought I'd do a little video of 5 scary truths about solo wild camping. Now these scary truths are aimed at more beginning. Now these scary truths are aimed more at beginner solo wild campers, or at just starting out. Not so much for the experts out there. So I thought I'd come on a little walk, not in the hills or on the peaks, just local. Snow is still on the ground. So yep, stick around and I'll go through the 5 things that I believe that people should know. Now the 5th one for me is probably the most eeriest and scariest that I find when I go solo camping. Now number 1, and I've got to bring this up, especially this time of year, is we all know how unpredictable the weather can be. Now I've been wild camping a few times now and I've checked the weather and it's been fine, but when you get to your spot and you pitch up, it can soon change, and for people that are not used to it, it can be quite scary. That wind comes in, the rain. So what I do now is I check the mountain forecast website, just put in the location that you want to camp at, and there's loads of information on there: wind speed, rain, wind chill factors, all those sort of things. And I've checked those websites several times through the week if I'm planning to do a wild camp on a weekend, and then called it off at last minute because the weather's changed. I don't really want to be going out onto hills with 50-60 miles per hour winds. It's just not enjoyable. Now I know some out there chase that weather, especially those on YouTube. For me, it's not a thing that I'd like to do. I like to enjoy the camp. You know, I don't chase weather for clicks and views. It's just something I just do not do. But saying that, I have camped in weather where it's absolutely belted it down all night. It's been wind. I've been unable to cook because of the wind. So just do your preparation, do your research. Excuse the crunchy snow. If you do that first, you'll have a lot more enjoyable camp. Because some people do love to go out in winter, and conditions like this are absolutely ideal. If you've got the right gear, you've got the right equipment, it'll still be fantastic. Sorry, I'm gonna have to stop because all I can hear is crunch, crunch, crunch while I'm talking to you. So yeah, it could be still quite fantastic to do that. I've seen too many Facebook posts this week about mountain rescue going up to rescue people off mountains, and just reading the description of the call out is just, it's ridiculous why some people would go out and do that, especially if they're not prepared. I just can't get my head around it. Number 2, and it's something that I need to learn more of, navigation. You need to learn how to navigate the hills, the countryside, because there's one thing that you do not want to do, and that's get lost on your way to your camp or your pitch location, wherever you're thinking about wild camping. And the reason why I say that, I did a little video a couple of months back where I just sat in woods for about 2 hours just trying to get used to the sounds of the woods, and that was solely because I'd like to do a woodland camp at some point, but I want to get myself familiar with the sounds of the woods. You know, leaves falling, branches snapping or falling out of trees. But on my way back, and I know the route really well, I felt like it just took longer to get back to the car. It was disorientating. So you don't want that when you're up in hills and suddenly decide that you want to bail, because in the dark it's a completely different landscape. And if you're not good with navigation and you do need to bail for whatever reason, you need to have top navigational skills. So that's one thing that I definitely still need to learn. Now, number 3, another one can be quite scary. You found the perfect pitch, you've set up, you settled down. You could get a ranger or a landowner turning up and moving you along. Now, if you choose the right location, the possibility of that happening is very slim, but it does happen, especially if you're camping on somebody's land. Well, it's everybody's land. And if you're settling down for the night, just nodding off, and then suddenly there's someone outside your tent shouting hello and asking you to move along, it could be quite scary, because then again, going back to number 2, you've got to navigate back to the car or wherever. If you are asked to move on, just be polite. If you're confident enough, maybe you can convince them to stay the night, that you won't leave a trace, you'll be left first thing in the morning, they won't even know that you've been there. I've still got to play with boys. Go on then. Just to give you another little bit of advice, that, you know, if you get to your pitch and just don't feel right, you don't like it, trust your gut instinct, just pack up, move to another pitch, or just head off back home. Because if you don't like it, and you've just returned, you may not go out again. Ready? And it can be really off-putting, can that? Which brings me on to number 4. And it's got to be solitude, loneliness. The whole point of going solo while camping is to experience that. But is it for you? So what do? A lot of people take books, headphones, listen to a bit of music. A few people take a couple of beers, a bit of whiskey, just enjoy the solitude. But again, that can be quite scary if you're not used to it. And going back to other truths, if you don't like it, pack up and head home and maybe try again. Because you're out in the middle of nowhere, no one around for miles, hopefully. And my first solo wild camp, I was really anxious about going out, really anxious, and I was really putting it off. And I got to the day where I actually planned to go, weather wasn't great, checked mountain forecast, all good, not the Apple phone weather forecast, mountain forecast. And I was rubbing and ahhing, and my missus headed out doing her thing, and I sat there and got in car and headed there. And the hike itself, it was tough. I was knackered. I was blowing. But when I got to camp, set up, got all my gear out, started raining. I just took it all in. And I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed just the solitude and just with your own thoughts. Our Walter, we were just so relaxed, and it was just a completely different experience to when you camp with somebody else. And I do like camping with other people, but I do like camping solo, and I do enjoy it. I really do. You cannot beat that feeling. I really enjoy it. So, solitude and loneliness. Think about that if you're gonna prep for your first solo. That is one of my gloves. My missus brought dogs up here yesterday. Sorry for interrupting the video. And she never told me that she had lost one of my gloves. She never told me that she wore gloves. As I'm walking along here, what do I find on the floor? One of my gloves. And I know it's my gloves because it's got a red band all the way around it. And it's 4 class from Decathlon, so it's definitely mine. I'm hoping other ones at home in a jacket pocket. Now, if you're enjoying this video, 67% here just watch the videos, you don't subscribe. So if you could subscribe to the channel, it'd be really appreciated. Every time that subscribe count goes up by 1, I feel great. I feel absolutely fantastic. 67%. That's crazy, that. I don't usually look at analytics and stuff like that, but I've started to look at it. It's not become an obsession, don't worry. And number 5. Oh, just sunk. Oh, and again. This snow is really hard, but then you get bits where you just sink right deep. Number 5 is wildlife, bugs, noises in the middle of the night that you're not used to, sounds that you're not used to, you know, deers and stags. Now I live in an area where it says caution deer, stags, and I've never seen one. And my brother-in-law, he turned up to drop some off only a couple of weeks ago. I've been living up there for years, and he saw 2 crossing the road. Typical. I've never seen one. But yes, wildlife. You're in countryside. You're going to be walking past sheep. You might be walking through a field of cows, bulls. And then when you get to camp, you pitch up, you're going to have bugs, flying bugs. And if that's not your thing, then it's going to annoy you a little bit. When I went camping with Josh in summertime, believe it or not, we just got in his tents and he screamed out, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And it was one of those little flying insects, you know, what wings, like Jimmy Spinners, we call them in Yorkshire. I don't know what you call them elsewhere. Maybe that is the real name, Jimmy Spinner. Like a daddy long legs with wings. But there is one thing that really creeped me out. So on my last camp, excuse me, on my last camp, I'm not going to walk because I'm making too much crunching noise. I camped near water. It's just a stream, not a little stream, a fairly decent one, or a beck or small river. And I could hear it and it was lovely and relaxing. But at middle at night, I sort of woke up for a pee. I had a pee in my pee bottle. and trying to get my head back down, and I was listening to stream, river, water source, and I was just sort of nodding off, and then suddenly, this was 3:30, pitch black, really foggy outside. Could hear women's voices, not loudly, just faint. Couldn't make out what they were saying. But God. But yeah, I could hear them, and it really creeped me out, and my heart started pounding. I thought, there's nobody out here, especially where I were pitched, walking so close at 3:30. I wasn't on a track, I was miles away. I won't say miles away, but I was a fair distance from a footpath or a trail. And I didn't want to look at a tent, but I could hear them. And I thought to myself, just calm down, it's not women's voices you can hear. It's not. Just calm down, relax, breathe. And eventually I calmed down. I thought, well, you know, if it is women, what could they possibly do to me anyway? But you never know, dear. But it was just the time of the night, the fogginess, the women's voices, and it were creepy. It were really creepy. But I was watching another video a couple of weeks after. In fact, my brother had told me about it. And a wild camper were at side at water. He camped at side at water, and he said the next morning, he went, I always forget about camping at side at water. He says, because last night I could hear women's voices talking, and it's just the sound of the water just bouncing from the rocks at side of it, and it just creates such strange sounds. Of course there were no there. It was just the water keep sinking into the snow. But yeah, so it's the scary things could be just the sounds that you're not used to. It could be deers and stags grunting. You could have horses. I've seen videos where horses come to tents. Obviously there's sheep, and then there's the foxes and badgers that could come sniffing around your tent. I'm convinced that they do come sniffing around my tent, but it could be my mind playing tricks sometimes. And other wildlife that you could hear are owls twit-to-wooing. Tonight we've seen an owl, haven't we?
Yeah, I've seen an owl, yeah.
And you know, we can hear it in distance, like twit-to-wooing.
Doing what?
Twit-to-wooing.
Twit-to-wooing?
Yeah. Twit-to-woos. Oh dear. So in my last camp, it was really foggy, really misty. You could see the beam of light shining through the fog. So that in itself can be quite eerie, scary if you're not used to it. But one thing freaked me out was I had Rodney with me, and he had a green collar on that lights up, so I could keep an eye on him when he was mooching around. And he was just a little bit in front of me. He turned, bearing in mind it was pitch black, and he just went for something. It was like it was warning something off. Take a look. If you can see that. A little green light on him so I can see where he is. Hey! What's up with you? What's up with you? Now I've no idea what he were doing, what he were warning something away, but freaked me out a little bit. Didn't hear it run off, didn't see any animals, but definitely freaked me out a little bit. Now some of you may have noticed, the eagle eye ones may have noticed that the sky is a different colour on this clip. And that's because I forgot to add some bits into the video that I filmed the other day when it was bright blue skies. I don't script my videos. Think of an idea and just go out and film. Just feel like it's a bit more raw that way. And it's literally just a little bit, so when you see the sky grey or white behind me, you'll see the bits that I filmed today. And it ain't much, but I'm out with the boys, so it's a perfect opportunity just to add those bits. So there you have it. Those things can be quite scary for a beginner, but do not let it put you off. It is just the natural order of things when you're first into wild camping. So just plan, have a plan B, maybe even have a plan C. Go out, enjoy yourself. You will absolutely love it. And those scary truths will no longer be scary. Take it easy, and I'll see you on the next one.